There's 30 good cars every single race, and I mean, you better be on your game.
What racer Mike Janis is talking about is NHRA's Pro Modified. 2015 proved to be one of the most intense seasons for this Maverick class. 10 races, 10 different winners, and a championship that was decided down to the wire. IDR has the final results next. After the final event in Las Vegas is over, the Pro Mod teams attended a banquet to hand out trophies. But before we review the top 5 points earners, let's look at some seasonal highlights.
Whoa, how about Don Walsh had a wheelie going 400 feet?
Oh, Bob Ram gets loose and tags the left side wall.
Billy Glidden earns his first.
Victory for Bob Ram.
At the finish line, Mike Knowles.
Here we go. Rick Snake takes the Pro Mod title.
Our number 5 finisher and the driver of the Precision Turbo Chevrolet Camaro, Don Walsh. That car was really on a rail as it had been for most of the year. So congratulations to Don for the big Houston win and the whole Precision Turbos team.
With a twin-turbo Camaro owned and tuned by Precision Turbo's Harry Ruska, Don Walsh Jr. provided stiff competition and plenty of controversy. His incredible mile-per-hour numbers reached for the sky, but unfortunately, so did the front end of his car. Frequently a top qualifier during the early part of the season, Walsh failed to make the field a couple of times due to a combination of power, traction, and aerodynamics carrying his front wheels nearly half-track. But he prevailed at Houston and holds the number 5 position in our countdown.
Instant problems for Glidden and a huge wheel stand for Walsh. But this one is going to be the turbocharged Chevrolet. He had his foot in it that time at 249.
You know, I'd rate the beginning of the season a 10, middle of the season maybe a 6 or 7. It fell to a 0 the last couple of races, and then we go out and qualify number 1 here at the last race. So I just say overall the year is probably a 6.
That middling mark came from chronic wheel stands that plagued Walsh throughout the season.
Problem with it is you can't see the racetrack at all in a car like this. The front end of it's long enough that if it raises up more than probably 6 or 7 inches, you cannot see the racetrack. So you're literally going by where the wall's at beside you. You think about it, some of those wheel stands went past the 8th mile, so we're going 210 miles an hour, 215 miles an hour.
Why is it doing that?
A number of reasons. One of them that we believe is we've changed to a new ignition spark plug. And what's happening is we're getting a lot of more aggressive RPM at the top of the gear and a really strong spark at the bottom of the gear, which is equating to torque.
So it's a serious deal. Not all of them were the smartest moves on my part. The team did really good this year. Everyone pulled together and kept it together while we were really struggling. I think that says a lot about your team. You know, the turbo cars are always going to run more mile an hour than other combinations. Other combinations weigh less, so they run the front numbers faster no matter what. The blower cars weigh the same. They leave with more boost. They have downforce that we don't have in the front half of the racetrack. They are going to 330 better than us. It's just, again, it's physics. Some of the racers don't like the mile an hour, but hey, I don't like watching them jump out a car on me when we leave either.
Inside Right Racing is brought to you by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology. And by Precision Turbo and Engine, the winning edge in boosted performance. And by Aeromotive, Serious fuel system for pro mods to hot rods and everything in between. Welcome back to IDR's coverage of the 2015 NHRA Pro Mod Banquet. Coming in at number 4 in the championship countdown is Tricky Ricky Smith, NHRA Pro Modified champion for both 2013 and 2014. The pilot of the IDG Camaro is one of Pro Mod's wiliest drivers. Has adapted starting line psychology as he is at tuning a nitrous oxide combination. Smith leaves no doubt as to where he got his tricky moniker. But turbo cars are a perpetual thorn in his side, and after a lackluster start for the season, Smith upped his game with a new car by the 4th event of the series, and things began to change.
2 number 1s will be battling, a world champ and your number 1 qualifier. Here we go. Red light start, Bob Ram. Ricky Smith wins it.
And he picked up the race win in Bristol and fought like hell for the rest of the season like he always does. The number 4 finisher this year, Ricky Smith.
It's just unreal. You know, we go to Bristol and it's a pretty phenomenal place. I won a lot back in the IHRA days there. So to be able to win up there again this year and on Father's Day too. You know, the fastest car don't always win, so you just got to go up there and you got to get down. That was what was getting us the first couple races of the year. We wasn't going down. And when you don't go down, you can't expect to win. So I just backed up, got my train of thought after the first 2 or 3 races. Look, we're going to start going down, not worried about being so fast, but make rounds, because these cars are just so unpredictable. You got to make rounds if you're going to win a championship.
By Englishtown, Smith had his new 2015 Camaro.
I got no problem changing cars, you know, with the Jerry Bickle car. I mean, you know, if you know what you're doing, I'm not saying I do, but them cars are just phenomenal, and I got no problem. The only thing that scares me about a new car is electrical stuff, and I took it out and tested, made 4 or 5 runs. As long as I know I don't have an electrical problem, I'm not worried about the chassis at all. Started the season off just wrong for me, you know, and when you do that, you're on an uphill climb the rest of the season. So that was probably not the good part of this deal, just right off the bat. And, but I've been doing this 42 years, and I wrestled in high school, played football, athlete of the year. You might beat me, but you better beat me when I stand up again, because I'm coming back. Right now, I'm building a turbo car. And it'll be done, you know, maybe before the PRI show. So I think the rules are pretty equal right now. I think we're in pretty good shape.
This is certainly the most memorable season in his career. The number 3 finisher in 2015 and the most improved driver of the year, Bob Ram.
This honor comes from the fact that Ram entered the NHRA Pro Mod class in 2014, but really didn't make his presence known until 2015. This nitrous-assisted Corvette was a serious contender for the championship nearly up to the end. Right out of the gate, the Michigan-based racer won the first race of the season, after which everyone knew that Bob Ram had decisively arrived on the scene.
With Bob Ram, the Jerry Bickles race car presented race from Gainesville. One of the great things about this afternoon for Bob Ram was every progressive round. He won a round, you know, he won Saturday, got to race on Sunday, and it went from him kind of being pumped up to winning a round to all of a sudden figuring out that they had a race car that could win the event.
You know, prior to that, we'd been to 6 events, qualified for 2, hadn't won a round, and from there we just got our confidence going, and with the new engine program we got from Mary Morrison, the 908 engines and Spicer Dynamics, everybody's doing a phenomenal job.
And Bob was highly emotional when the win light came on in his lane, and it was spectacular to be able to see that firsthand, to have a guy who's put a lot of heart and soul into this sport get his first national event wins.
My mother in heaven, saying my Hail Marys in that car.
That was a big one. A great way to start the season with Bob kicking everybody's tail down there in Florida.
Time now for the Quarter Mile Quiz, brought to you by ARP. This week's question comes from Michelle from Cleveland, Ohio, and she wants to know, are gear ratios changed from one track to another? We'll be back with the answer after this. Welcome back to Inside Drag Racing as we answer this week's Quarter Mile Quiz, brought to you by ARP. This week's Quarter Mile Quiz question, are gear ratios changed from one track to another? For that answer, we turn to Jimmy Rector.
Absolutely. Even from one pass to the next pass. I mean, makes a big difference in a blown car, but absolutely.
Once again, we return to IDR's coverage of the NHRA Pro Mod Banquet and Brian Lohnes.
So we didn't know who was going to be holding the number 2 or number 1 position until the middle of the afternoon today, and that is the way it's supposed to work in the sport of drag racing. The way that this season played out, it came down literally to the wire, and there were 2 very, very qualified candidates for a championship this season. 2 guys that have been there before, both have been world champions in this organization, both fought tooth and nail to the end. The number 2 finisher in 2015, Mike Janis.
Perhaps having one of his best seasons ever, Mike Janis was so solid a contender that he took the points lead by Indianapolis and was able to hang on to it for the next 3 events till he lost the first round of Vegas to Bob Ram.
Huge hole shot for Mike Janis.
Just for a fact, we've qualified good every race we've been in. You know, had a couple number 1 qualifiers. Had fast car on race day. You know, every day. Had some misfortunes where he smoked the tires and so on race day. But all in all, it's been a great season.
As they won the Norwalk race, it was presented by the Real Pro Mod Association, and they had half of upstate New York hanging out with them that weekend. They had tons of family there.
Mom was there, all my cousins and everybody. Out of all the years we've won, it's like the only race that the whole family and friends, everybody's been there, so it's pretty touching.
And stuff that happens at these races that maybe you don't hear about, but Mike's dad's, one of his old race cars was actually driven onto the property by a fan.
I remember I was only 8 at the time, but just to have the car here, and pretty sentimental for us.
But despite success on the drag strip, Janis was plagued with electrical gremlins.
That started way back at, I guess, Atlanta, where the car was shutting off. So we were chasing it since there, kept buying ignition parts. I guess it would have been St. Louis. Friday night, just rewired the whole car. Everything to do with the tranny brake and ignition. The problem went away. Still don't really know what it was, but Junior here is learning every round by round, and we never stop learning. He takes a lot of notes and is on top of it every single run.
Who is the winner of the Crew Chief of the Year award for this 2015 season? That, of course, is Mike Janis Jr.
You know, I look around the room right now, and to even be up here and to see people, you know, like Jimmy Rector, Steve Petty, any of these guys, and to even be in the same category as them is just something that's really near and dear to me. You know, back in, it was like 2002, my old man giving me the opportunity to wrench and tune.
Junior and Kevin put this thing together, made it go down. He had a lot of faith in him.
We don't see eye to eye all the time.
Kid told me I was going to go in 83, and I said, go back to bed, will you?
I can assure you that at the end of the day, there's he doesn't win the conversation. So, you know, so that's kind of the story behind that. I've been around the hot rod since I've been little. Really no idea what I was doing, and I just kind of like jumped into it. I started tuning a little bit, and back in it was probably 03, 04. I was on the starting line, and we were racing Mitch Stott back at the time, and Jimmy Rector was the crew chief. My dad went up there and raced him. We ended up beating him, and Jimmy claimed that we had hung him out to dry. So imagine me, I was only probably 21, 22 at the time, you know, a little lighter than I am now. And Jimmy comes up to me and goes, boy, I'm telling you right now, your daddy just hung him out. And he walked up to me and he chest butted me. And I went flying about 3 feet backwards. And you know, from that moment on, I kind of realized what I was getting into. You know, that was something that always stuck in my head. And you know, you gotta keep fighting. So, before I finish up, I like to talk, but I think it's important. Like, is Peter Clifford and Graham Light in the room? Peter Clifford? Yeah, they're perfect. You guys stand up, please. I'd like to thank you guys for everything that you've done for us as the Real Pro Mod Association. And just really take a look around this room. I'm sure Danny and them guys are probably wondering what I'm going to say right now if I'm going to say something stupid. It's not going to be stupid. It's not going to be stupid at all. I know you guys like your Top Fuel, you like your funny car, but this group right here is the most badass group of people and business owners that you're going to meet at your events all year long. So I want to give a round of applause to all these people here because these are the guys that are badass. Thank you guys very much.
That'd make a good bumper sticker.
Inside Drag Racing is being brought to you by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology, and by the School of Automotive Machinists, education at full speed, and by Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping.
We're going to do a pretty special thank you here to our series sponsor, J&A Service Company. I'd actually like to invite Jim Whiteley. Could you please come to the front of the room here? We have something to present to you.
I'm going to speak loud so you can hear me. This is a trophy, or rather a helmet that's been signed by all of the drivers in the series. Now, if you're a driver that has not been able to sign it, we have a marker up here and you can chase Jim down. But Jim, on behalf of everybody, especially your fellow peers that are out here competing, thank you.
So we are left with one driver to introduce. We have one guy that ironically didn't win a race this season. You didn't see him in those 10 winner circle photos, but when you did see him, every race there was a couple of round wins. Deep in the rounds, he had 2 runner-ups this year, but no race wins. The 2015 Pro Mod champion at the J&A Service Series is Troy Coughlin. Troy Coughlin, come on up. Congratulations.
Despite not winning a single race this year, Troy Coughlin Sr. was able to quietly whittle down the difference to Mike Janis' lead till he was within 6 points by the time Janis lost the first round of Vegas. Then two things needed to happen. Bob Ram had to lose the next round and Coughlin had to win, both of which occurred, giving Troy his second NHRA Pro Mod Championship since 2012.
Green lights flashing, the race is on. It goes to Troy Coughlin.
I think the first part of the season went pretty well. We started off with a new car, a new engine, all brand new stuff that we've never ran before. We had some lucky breaks and we had some good success. It was a fast hot rod. And like I said earlier, we had some mechanical issues with the engine which created oil leaks and a couple broken rods and stuff like that, which set us back from a point standpoint. But with the problems that we had, we ended up, we're still way up in the top part of the points at that point. Second part of the season started off a lot rockier, where both cars were not running up to speed like they were in the beginning of the season. We just got to get back to it. I know Steve and Brandon and Mike and Justin and Kyle, these guys are working their rear ends off to try and get these things back up to speed.
What was the highlight of the year?
Probably seeing me and TJ get down to the semifinals in Gainesville at the first race, and having an opportunity to have me and him race in the finals of the first race of the season was probably pretty cool. Anytime seeing him turn the wind light on to me was badass.
On behalf of all the people that got to sit there and watch it, whether they were in the announcing booth or in the stands, thank you for the quality of racing you brought to the table this year and the show you put on. But there's another group of people that really deserves a lot of thanks. Those are the people that keep the home fires burning when you're out on the road. They're the people that keep your businesses functioning when your office suddenly turns into a 250-mile-an-hour race car. They're the people that may help you get the kids on a school bus on Monday morning when you're towing home. Maybe they're the person that maybe doesn't understand drag racing or what a 60-foot time is or why you're staring at the ceiling after not qualifying on a Saturday night. But they're the first person to throw their arms around you when things aren't going right, and they're the people that cheer loudest for you when the things are going right. A huge thank you to all your family members that maybe can't make it out to the races. Please let them all hear it, those people that need the appreciation that make it possible to do what you do. Thank you, good night, and safe travels home.
That wraps up the Inside Drag Racing coverage of the 2015 NHRA Pro Mod Banquet. For Brian Loans, I'm Ted Jones. See you next time from the floor at the PRI Convention in Indianapolis.